let's start with worst corporate Democrat. So there are 4 contestants: Representative Nancy Pelosi, Senator John Fetterman, Senator Joe Manchin, and Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. Interesting. Okay, I know who I voted for, and I know who the people voted for. So, JR, let's start with you. What do you think?
Sure. Joe Manchin. This guy named Joe Manchin. If I haven't said it's Manchin, it's Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is one of the more frustrating politicians you ever listen to speak. It's like he knows how annoyingly, transparently flip-floppy he is. And not even for any principle that changed his mind, but just because he needs to have enough attention around him, it almost seems you can't even really guess what his motivations are because it's always something else. You're like, well, maybe it's something else that's ridiculously, annoyingly negative. But I'm never going to forget that call that was, I'm not sure it was leaked or if it was put out there by someone with that. I think it was a mobile executive, like mobile oil exec, who talked explicitly and in length and in a significant amount of detail about how one of his favorite people to buy is Joe Manchin. Purchase him. You know, it's $2.72 a gallon for Joe Manchin. And he was one of the best ones up for sale. Not even for the premium. The bare minimum 87 level fuel. Joe Manchin, he loved him so much because he said, I'm just gonna give you guys an example. He was talking generally how he lobbied Congress folks, legislative people that we vote in, and how well he works with many of them. And instead of just saying, you know, there's a bunch of folks that we can buy off because they buy off so many of them, Joe Manchin was like the standard bearer for the guy who makes his living off of buying politicians. And Joe Manchin was unfazed. All that happened, he blinked and went, yeah, so anyways, I'm an independent now. I can't stand Joe Manchin. I can't stand him so much.
Yeah. So Jerry, just one quick correction. That's JoJo to you, okay? That's Biden's nickname for him, JoJo.
Oh, God.
And W used to call Putin Pooty Poot. So these are our leaders.
I do remember Pooty Poot.
Okay, all right, yeah. John.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty torn on this one. I hear what JR is saying. I think that I'm gonna go away from Joe Manchin though, just because I feel like Joe Manchin wasn't, for me, much worse this year than he's been. And then, so for me, it goes down to Fetterman, who on basically everything having to do with Gaza was just so aggressively bad on a number of issues. Like when that guy turned, he seemed to relish in it. But I think I'm going to allow myself to fall to a bit of recency bias right now. And I'm going to say that although I guess Nancy Pelosi kind of earned a bunch of points by being on our side of trying to push Joe Manchin out of the race.
Joe Biden.
What did I say? Joe Manchin? Joe Biden.
Yeah, see?
They're different people technically. So she tried to push him out, and that's good. But then after Trump won, we desperately need to like bring the party together, chart a new course, do something bold, show that we can learn from this horrendous loss. And she decided she was going to go with Jerry Connolly over AOC. So almost entirely just on that, I'm gonna do Nancy Pelosi this time. I think she could have helped to launch the next generation of the party, give us something to run on the next 2 years, the next 4 years. And she decided to double down on the same strategy that got us to where we're at.
Yeah. So something John said swung me a little bit. Let's see if I stick with my choice here. But let me do elimination real quick. Hakeem Jeffries hasn't done enough yet to be, worst corporate Democrat. He's a very standard corporate Democrat, and he's now the House Minority Leader, and I get it. But he's actually taking the boot off the necks of the younger members a little bit more than Pelosi did. He hates progressives, he hates populists, and so we'll have a lot of fights with Hakeem Jeffries. But so far, I don't think he comes in a clear fourth here on this list. Not bad enough yet at all. So Pelosi, I don't think should be the choice because she helped push Biden out. It was the first time I've ever agreed with her, right? And it's the first time she's ever done something positive and courageous. And again, and in a sense against the establishment. So no, I can't pick Pelosi in a year that she did something good. But you guys did. The voters went with Pelosi at 33%. It was tight. It was tight, but they had her as the worst corporate Democrat. For me, it was between Fetterman and Manchin, and so Fetterman is just awful because he's such a disappointment, right? So if he was just a normal corporate Democrat that had all the positions that he has now, and he ran that way, it would be less bad, right? But he ran as like a populist progressive and then turned into the biggest establishment stooge there is in the Senate. So that was a massive disappointment. Nevertheless, I voted for Joe Manchin because it doesn't get worse than Joe Manchin. I mean, Fetterman still agrees with us on, I think at least half the stuff, right? And Joe Manchin killed 85% of the plans that we had, and he did it with relish, and not that kind of relish, Mitt. Calm down. I know hot dog's your favorite meat, but and he's the heart of corporate evil. Now, having said that, there is no final declaration on who's the worst person, worst corporate Democrat, other than your guys' actual vote. So it's not a thing. But I will now say I'm switching my vote to Fetterman, and the reason is John's right. Manchin did most of that damage a year ago and 2 years ago. This year he was bad, I'm going to be an independent, I'm going to try to run against Biden, a third party, which would guarantee it for Trump. He did all of his corporate goon stuff that he always does, but he really buried us a couple of years ago, whereas Fetterman's stuff was earlier today. And this will be hotly debated probably for the rest of time. Who really should have been the worst corporate Democrat of 2024? I mean, it'll take decades to sort out. So there you go. Some controversy in there. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.